Welcome back to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld. And if you've been watching this channel, you know I just did a very exciting interview with Lowell Johnson, and he is back with more information, more evolution, more expansion of consciousness. Welcome, Lowell. How are you?
It's good to be here, Alan. It's a nice day where I am. I hope it is where you are too.
It is. It is. So in the first part, you talked about your journey to the inner sanctum of Telos. So now you want to talk about sort of the benefits, the evolution, what the movement of human beings as we kind of make contact with those higher realms. So go ahead. I'm going to spotlight you and tell us where you want to go.
Well, in the end, as is usual, the things that I set out, the rabbit hole I go down to learn is usually a trigger or a key for what I'm really supposed to be there to learn. When that whole episode in Telos, as unbelievable as it is to many, I'm sure, that haven't heard the story, and oh yeah, this guy, of course he was there. That now I know was a dimensional experience. We're so close to having those abilities back and cracked open from within our DNA. And I was just like the first wave. So Telos, as wonderful it is a milestone in the scheme of things that have happened since then. And it's only when you get to look back upon the things that have happened. There were a few ceremonies I was invited to that I thought I was going along as a tag along. And in the end, no, these were intended for you. So today we're going to talk about how that happened and show evidence.
Wait, so let's just start. So you returned to Telos, you had another experience, you didn't go in, and then how was your life changed and how did this lead to these other episodes that you're now encountering? Let's trace that development.
How that happened? Well, there's an influence that certainly helped accelerate my awareness, shall we say. Mm-hmm. When I went down the path to find out what Antara crystals were. And
Antara crystals, you're saying?
Antara crystals, yes.
What are learning
they? What they are actually a crystal that's formed out of we'll just call it creation material. You've heard of it, Ethereum powder and Ethereum gold.
Yes.
Well, exactly. This powder contains 70 different trace metals in it. And it's purported that when it fuses the way that it does, when the earth fuses this material together to turn it into crystal form, depending on whatever metal element it triggers, that determines the color. That's why they come in such a variation of colors.
Do you have one you could show us?
Oh, I've got a couple. This is
definitely show us one.
An amber one, and really that is for your lower chakras. Really, if you're trying to get balance, that is a good.
Are these natural, you're saying, or
yes, it's a crystal, but we'll go into a little bit more. And then this one was gifted to me.
Okay,
this is Epiphany. She is a healing wand. I got it from a healer, and I can tell you it works because it healed me a couple of times. So the person who needs things proven to them the most, I've seen these things work. I've seen these miracles, and now I know why. So anyway, there was a time when the Ethereum was available.
Ethereum is what? Explain what Ethereum is.
It's prima matra. It's creation material. It was seeded here in at least two places that we know of on the planet. One, people have gotten to, it's in the Sierra Mountains, and the other is apparently in South Africa on land that belongs to a diamond mine. So no one's going to see that anytime.
But what is it? Is it a powder you take? Is it like mineralized powder?
When you see it in the vein, I haven't seen it for myself. It's been described this way, that there's a 5-mile vein of this stuff in this area. And the vein is there by degrees of color. There's 4 primary colors. There's white, which you see on the top. Then there's tan or pink, call it what you want, red, and then at the bottom is black. Each one has different abilities.
Right,
Yes. Black is a wonderful detox and regenerator, and that stuff was planted there from somewhere else. This is not earth material. And even when analysis has been done by the scientists that have tried to figure out what, the all is in these monatomic elements around Ethereum, they can identify some of it, but there's stuff they still don't know what it is.
All right. So let's bring it all together to tell us how we can now build the light body, right? Because that's what today's show is about, becoming light beings. So
yeah, this is a method that helps. The way that Ethereum assists is to help unlock the other levels of your DNA. And so just having Antara crystals and being in possession of them, you pick up on those properties and you have that. But when somebody ingests it, like the stories where the gods used to take it, and the Anunnaki had found it, and they used it to expand their consciousness. Well, it's been found here for whatever reason. It was gifted to me and placed in my path, not to sell, but to help others heal. So yes, I began, let's say, being nourished by it in May, and it made a profound difference.
How do people get it, though? How do people?
So that's just the thing. There's a finite amount of it at all, and I somehow, it was placed in my path.
So why are we talking about it? If people can't get it, how come what
we'll
does
just
it
have
do
to
talk
see.
about it? Okay.
What I can tell you is that in some channelings that were done in the 90s about all this material, where it came from, what it was, there was indications there that there were other places on the planet that it was going to be seeded. And when the time came, it would be revealed. You don't have to convince me, the time is now. The reason I can see things dimensionally that the rest of us can't see yet is because I've had a healthy dose of this stuff and then a different version of it when I got to come in contact with these light beings.
Right. So let's talk about becoming light. How do human beings transform? This is one way. You're talking about Ethereum and the Antara crystals. But for the people who don't have access to those tools, what can we do?
You're already mutating. These Ethereum and Antaras are accelerators to me. They just help accelerate the process. But we've been in this cosmic cycle now where the planets are all shifting, and now we've moved into this golden age for 2,000 years with enhanced photon energy, right? Coming from Alcyon, passing through our solar system and pointed out at every planet outside the sun. That's why we've had as much weather unrest as we've had, is that stuff is affecting every sentient being. It affects the earth, but then every other sentient being also at a cellular level is, think of it as your DNA is mutating. It's adapting to the next level of consciousness because Earth is gone with or without us. If you wish to be prepared and find yourself aligned, here are the tools with which to do that. I think that some of these things were placed in paths like mine so that we can come back and assist people to, those that are awakened. And now it's time for us to tell you how we got there.
Well, assist us. We're waiting for you. We're listening. We're here. We're ready to be assisted. So give us some assistance here.
There's no map, and everybody's journey is different.
Right.
I'm happy to share what happened with me along the way.
Yes, and let's start there. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about how this all happened. Again, I've had no frame of reference for many things that happened. As I explained, when I got to go to Telos, the Lemurians tell us we're not on my radar at all. Or you can't go to Mount Shasta and throw a stone without hitting something that says Telos for sure. So you're aware of it. But until my little episode, was it me and why did that happen? So now we get to this season. So the first week in August, I'm on my way somewhere.
Oh, wait, that 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Someone asked, is the stuff you're talking about like monocolloidal gold? Is it similar to that?
No, that's monocolloidal. I can't speak to whatever that process is. These are monatomic elements.
Okay. Anyway, okay. So let's go back to your story. You find yourself on your way to Shasta.
I'm on my way back from a road trip to the east, and I'm due back to a friend's place in the Santa Cruz Mountains. His compound's in a place called the Enchanted Forest, and it is all of that. He's got an awesome Antara spiral with huge elders in it. There is energy galore in this space to take advantage of. And so I was due back there on Friday. There was someone who had heard my story about Telos, who had actually phoned earlier to see, because there's a lot of people that come and go from this place. There's healing that takes place there, and there are people that come to visit to purchase Antaras and whatever the trade of the day is. And so people that are there always kind of call ahead. Well, when the word got out, when Kumu, we'll refer to her as Kumu, called, and the list of who was coming through the weekend, and my name came up on Friday. She said, "What do you mean? Lowell's going to be there Friday?" And the response was, "Yeah, he's going to be here Friday." So she said, "Well, I'll be there Friday too." Now, when I got there, I didn't know who she was. Never met her. She knew me somehow, but I didn't. So when we started to get acquainted, we sit out on this back deck where life kind of takes place in this place. And we're kind of getting used to one another, getting acquainted.
Where are you exactly? Where are you?
I'm roughly not going to reveal the
don't
place
give us
because
exact.
it's a private place.
It's somewhere in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
It's in the Santa Cruz
Okay, Mountains. That's fine. That's enough. Yes. Okay.
So as the afternoon wears on and it gets kind of toward the later in the afternoon, she gets up and starts to take some pictures of plants, which in this area grow like crazy because they've all been fed Ethereum and they thrive. It's just incredible. So I'll show you some pictures that she took while this was taking place.
Okay. Yes.
So if you look on the upper left-hand side, I took a screenshot so I could show you multiple shots. Sometime soon, I will be in a place where people will be able to talk to me one-on-one. I will show these pictures and away we go. But nonetheless,
okay, we'll start on the upper left-hand side with the upper
left-hand side. She was attempting to bring in some light beings.
Okay.
And you can clearly see she successfully did that. Once she did that, then she said, "Lowell, I want you to come over here and stand behind this." So that's second row from the top on the left. Yeah, there's one that's going in my third eye and coming out my back. And then the next shot you see are light downloads.
I have to ask you, these are not solar flare, light flares on the camera.
No. Do they look like it to you?
I don't know. They look different, actually, the white ones. Yeah, something's happening here for sure.
They are not. Anyway, this must have been some type of stage 1 development. The fact that whatever happened here this day, whatever contact it was with those light beings, it was enough to trigger her to come back the next day. No one knew she was returning, but a call came in Saturday morning that she was returning. She returned.
Do you know who these beings are, where they're from, why they're there?
They're 6-dimensional beings here to assist us. They've been here all along. Here is where contact begins to manifest.
All right.
So
She comes back the next day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what
brings
happened?
a feast for us that are there, and brings some relics that I am not at liberty to share. Well, I can talk about them, well, what I saw, but I can't show the pictures that she shared with me. These were images that she had taken, and immediately after, she sent them to me. That day after she'd shown us the relics, you got a feel of who she was. And without going into a lot of detail, she's a hybrid. She was born a hybrid in this country. Her father volunteered for the program way back when.
Which program did he volunteer for?
To volunteer to cross his DNA with some, call it alien DNA, that the government had got their hands on somehow. He agreed to participate in the program.
So he was a government person. He wasn't part of the ET
He was a soldier.
He wasn't part of the ET abduction program. It was another whole thing. All right.
Yes.
So
anyhow, at the end of the afternoon, she asked Mickey and I to come down to this Antara spiral. There is an angel statue right behind the big center stone. And as soon as we got down there, Mickey said, can you feel the angel vibrating? Well, I put my hand on top of her and go, yes, there is energy that's moving something. So she begins taking these pictures of what you see next. Those are all those light beings that we called in. It was so dense. People were sitting at the end of the spiral on a couple of benches that were there. And it was this light so dense, I couldn't see through it. I could kind of see them on the outskirts of the light, but it was dense.
Oh, you were actually seeing these light beings appear.
Yeah.
That's, how'd you feel when in the presence of these beings?
It's like bathing in light. That's exactly what it feels like. You're being bathed in light.
Right.
So afterwards, we sat on the side. You can see that little railing along the way. Well, that's not the sun's ray coming down there. And when the time comes and you can look at this in greater detail, it looks like I'm holding something in there.
Yeah, it sort of does.
And the conclusion that people have come to is they all thought it looks like a snake or a serpent. Well, that's exactly what it was. The interpretation, that's Shiva coming in to provide me with protection.
But you weren't holding anything really physical at that.
No, these are dimensional captures. So that's why when you see the last one there, that kind of looks like I'm standing at an angle. Well, I'm not actually standing at an angle. That's the photograph that happens when you're actually stepping into another dimension.
Which one is it on the bottom? You're saying on the
yes, yeah. See the feather one in the lower right. It's the one just
lower
to the
right.
left.
Yeah, the one to the right, lower right, and then the middle one of you there. The middle one, you're saying. And so you feel like how did you felt like you were stepping into another dimension? How did that feel?
It felt like I was present in where I was, but there were other things that I could now see, that there were people around me that didn't see the light. Mickey did, his girlfriend did, and I did. There were two other people that were there that did not. So if you have sensitivities to be able to see things interdimensionally, you saw them. Now we know they're around us constantly.
And
we're just developing.
I mean, they could be photographed.
Well, tell me about it. Right. So this was the first weekend in August. I didn't really get to know Kumu very well, but there were plans that I was going to be in Shasta at the end of August, and that I was actually going 4 or 5 days earlier. She was actually going to be in Shasta to help do some healing for some people that were coming from Miami. And, she does a lot of this kind of clearing work because she can reach into these dimensions and ask for this kind of assistance. Anyhow, we had arranged that while we were there, I was going to spend some more time with her. Because again, I didn't really know her. The things that I was telling you about her now were what I learned, the following Thursday when we found a little camp spot in Panther Meadows and just sat there on our chairs for 2 hours and got to know one another. And all the questions on, why me, how me? Well, why did you do what you did? Well, I had to. And
well,
the
what did she
dialogue went
say?
along.
Why you? Why you? What did she tell you, if you can share it?
I was supposed to. That actually, if I believe in my incarnations and that I came back to assist in this way, that I put her in this place to be the trigger to whenever my assistance was supposed to come, she was the link to it.
Okay.
And therefore, her opinion that I had to do it is what happened. So she gave me a different kind of Ethereum when I saw her, gifted it to me, and actually didn't say, here, take this. She offered it as a gift because it wasn't just Ethereum. It was Ethereum and however you want to see, experience, whatever light was coming from those beings, half of this was that. So the same way that I have ingested Ethereum, you take in my case, 1/8 of a teaspoon every day, and then just drink water. I'm telling you, from the inside out, you are going through change. This was a different kind of change. So it took me about 10 days to go through the process. And I was in Shasta when it was happening all anyway. It just coincided so I could get fresh water at the headwaters. And by the time this conference was over, I had gone through this process, but there were 2 more ceremonies I was going to be invited to. Friday night, which was unusual because she was scheduled to leave Saturday. And that was on the property of a guy who's got an incredible pyramid. It's 22 feet high, but it draws some energy in addition to what Shasta already does. It's a cool place. So I was part of ceremony there on Friday night and got taken to Egypt and saw the top
You
of the
got taken
Great
to
Pyramid.
Egypt. You got taken to Egypt. You said, like, astrally.
That's where I went. That's where I went during this ceremony.
This is not a planned ceremony, is it?
It wasn't for me. I thought I was just along for the ride. So when I saw the top of the Great Pyramid come off, it was to expose the rest of the halls of Mementi and make it available for now everyone. So those of you that are Emerald Tablet fans, the last 2 that used to be forbidden, I don't think they're all going to be all that forbidden. The time for humanity to get that kind of knowledge seems to be right now. So that was Friday.
Can you give us some of that knowledge if we haven't read the Emerald Tablets?
As we go along, yeah. Where would you begin? There's 15 different areas to cover, and they're all vast. That would be content for another time or another Zoom session for people that are interested in it, but they should be. But anyway, let me get
this. No, I would just love to get tell people how to become more light. But go ahead, continue your story. Yes.
Yeah, I have this. Then was Saturday. I thought I was being asked to participate in another ceremony as a tag-along. No, this was specifically for me.
What are we looking at here? Can you describe the images?
Yeah, this location is at a really beautiful plot of land that is a Veterans Memorial in the Mount Shasta area. And on that property are these awesome, there's a sculpture yard, beautiful, 9, 10, maybe 11 of them, the kind of different shape, the kind of alien shape look. They're all 8 or 9 feet tall, but they are in different poses and they're in different locations in kind of a circular area there. Well, they have used this area before for ceremonies because apparently it's a great spot where ETs like to land. You can tell when you're here, Mount Shasta is kind of behind you, and then there's another mountain range in front of you. So this natural valley looks like this makes sense. Anyhow, I was going to be put through the actual light integration here. I didn't know. So when I got there and I pulled up, I was the fourth car of four, started to, pull my chair out of the back. Kumu comes over and hands me a brown piece of paper and said, "This is your medicine. I want you to take your chair and go sit over by that particular statue over there."
And she's giving you Ethereum. She's not giving you anything.
No, I had Ethereum already. The Ethereum's already in my system. It's about to get an activator. She handed me some other bud that came from her Nana's Hawaiian plantation and, kind of set the stage for this. As I was sitting there getting ready, she was describing, what's going to happen next. So you can see me sitting in a chair waiting, and then where the statues are, she described how I'm going to lay underneath that. And once we do, then she's going to call in these light beings. Actually, I'm calling them in. I've ingested Ethereum for this purpose. I just had Nana's pot. We're going to sail in and we're going to connect with these people. So she said, plant whatever intention you want to get out of this. And of course, my intention is I really want to understand if what truth you're telling me is my truth, then just if one light shows up, I'll buy it all. I'll believe it all. I'll continue to follow the path, and I will be of service to, everyone else that wants to follow and figure out how I got here. She took my phone because she said, "I'm going to take these pictures with your phone so that no one can say I took them with my picture or my camera and then I sent them to you. No, they're going to be hardwired onto your camera from here." So once I laid down, she began to take pictures, and you can see the results of them. The ones starting like in the second row, those are all the light beings showing up. There were 4 of them. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to the bottom of the page, you see those green discs that appear to be on the top. That's a ship that's spinning above me during this whole ceremony.
These were taken with your iPhone, you're saying? That's
correct.
Okay. And so what was happening to you during this?
I was in a meditative state, but I was having physical contact. It's 3 p.m. This light show must have been something for everybody else that was in connection with it, because there were 12 or 14 people in the area that were all there to kind of assist in the process. There were things I could hear. 3 instances where it would have either had to been the biggest hummingbird I had ever heard of, because it just fluttered like, but for a period of time and in a stationary place, where if it's a hummingbird, it's going to move around. This didn't do that. Then it stopped and it began again in a different spot over me. And then it stopped and began in a different spot over me. Now, there were no critters in the area at all.
So wait, what were you hearing? Were you hearing a ship that was over there, an etheric ship?
No, I think I was hearing what light energy sounds like, in that how you would interpret a vibration of that type. That's what I think it was. And there is where the contact physically was made with me. Yeah.
What kind of can you describe the contact?
You just feel all of that light like it's just penetrating you.
Okay.
All of a sudden, your system is like it's a switch came on and you're kicked into a whole nother gear, and your awareness blossoms. Now, get ready for disclosure, people out there, because those of us that are developing this ability, you can't stop somebody from taking dimensional trips. We can't stop it anymore. And like I said, I'm not the only one who's had access to Ethereum that understands how to use it, because there's a responsibility to this stuff. And that's probably why it was just not thrown out there for anybody to have. Now, I also need to mention that unless you're in alignment with yourself, you can take all the Ethereum you want. It's not going to do you a bit of good until this is right. And then it cracks your DNA open and it opens up your awareness in ways that I'm still appreciating because it's new and better every day.
So with these light beings that you're here photographing, did they have a message or they have something they wanted to tell us?
I want you to think of this as a baton passing. You know, we've heard forever that they've been around us to assist, but they can't intervene, right? No, they can't intervene in 3D areas. But what if they could pass that ability to transmute negative energy into light, into a being here? Because that's what happened. That baton got passed. So whatever energy that I now have to be able to transmute negative energy into light just came at that pass right there. Here is where now they can help to influence what's happening here in a physical way to give us the tools we need to help Gaia ascend and help humanity through this thing.
So what tools do we have that you're offering that we could to partake in?
Well, I'm going to tell you the same thing everyone else has said all along. It's inside of yourself.
Right.
But sometimes you just need a touchstone. I know I did when all this happened. Who can help me understand what this is, how it came from, and explain to me all the things that have been placed in my path, gifted, by the way, along my way. How did they end up coming to me? Well, I stopped asking those questions and just kind of went with it to see what would happen. This is what's happened.
So if people are watching this is a gift to them as well.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. You know, and you and I had a conversation a couple Fridays ago about how we're going to communicate this, who, and even if I wanted to communicate it at all, do I want to put myself out there and let people start to pick holes at it? I had to tell myself that I wasn't given these gifts to sit on them. We trusted you, Lowell, to get us this far, help others along the way. You can probably ascend now. I certainly have the tools to do that. But again, they didn't give me those tools to go ahead and ascend. I'm supposed to be here to assist others.
Right. Good. Thank you. So, okay. So just exposing them to the possibility that there are light beings all around us is the beginning of that.
There are, and that's why it gets more tricky to drive for me now, because especially long stretches of freeway, I can get lost in what's around me and totally forget where I am. At areas I'm totally familiar with, but they just seem like I'm somewhere else. I've got to be careful, to be mindful while I'm in this dimension, to stay in this dimension.
Right. Right. Have a foot in both worlds, but not. Yeah.
Well, that's what it is. And that's not easy. It's not easy.
Right.
Anyway,
so
I think what's going to happen next is I'm going to start to make myself available in places where I can start to meet with groups. It's already happening. I'm headed for Shasta next week, and my plate is filling with people who just want to, can you tell me what you've been through? Can you show me the pictures? I think we're going to have to do that on a greater scale. And Ruben actually warned me about that last year when we were meeting in Shasta last year. He said, I think you should get ready to tell your story to bigger audiences. Just say it. Just get used to the idea.
Well, give us something that we could use now in our lives to help us ascend more to the higher frequencies.
If there are questions about ascension at all, my guides gave me awesome information. It's posted on my website, free for everyone. If you have questions about chakra alignment, if you have questions about what the different dimensions are and what the law of one is in the scheme of all that stuff is there. I would suggest getting yourself familiar with this, because you're in the middle of ascension, whether you realize it or not. You might as well figure out what it is and what to expect.
What's your website again? I'll put it in the chat here because we're getting some questions in the chat.
40kftview.com.
40K FT view.com. I'm putting it in the chat. Okay,
Correct.
great.
I think they're underneath the home tab. You can immediately get to the Ascension Handbook. There are 8 sections to it, but you can pick and choose and go around anything you want. There's no rhyme or reason. It has a sense and a pattern to it, but people want to digest different pieces of it. So that's the way that we set it up. I have to tell you how it came into my hands was another how did that happen thing. I had just finished an interview with a girl named JoJo out of Australia. She had heard something I'd done with Rob Potter before, and so she wanted me to do an interview with her in her club. After I did, and she reached out a couple days later, here's the edited version. By the way, if you know anything about Ascension and you'd like to, contribute, let me know. That morning, Alan, I had gotten an email from somebody who had heard my story and started to follow me. And out of nowhere, he sends me this thing called the Ascension Handbook. It's done by a guy named Master Tony back in 2012. And everything except the date in here is freaking relevant to today. Now, Master Tony is no longer with us. No one can find him. The materials were done clearly from an Australian perspective, that kind of language. And anyway, so I just translated it. And the guides handed it to me and said, look, it's somebody's turn to pick up the baton and get this information out there for everybody. So that's where it is. It's available for everyone.
Can you talk about what Ascension is for you, what that means? Many people have many different interpretations.
Yeah. Well, first, there's 2 different types of ascension. There's the cosmic cycle that what Earth is going through, her ascension. And then there's all the sentient beings and their ascension on the planet. They're not one and the same. Earth is going through her cycle to go through the 4th dimension right now. She's done being 3rd dimension material. She's in that process. And so when we experience earthquakes and tsunamis and volcanoes and things that we think that are horrible, these are her growing pains and getting her used to her new vibration and what her new level of ascension and consciousness is going to be. She's almost there. And it wasn't that human beings, we contributed collectively such good warm feelings to our ascension that we tipped the scales. That certainly contributed, but she was sending whether we are ready or not. It's not going to come without some other disruption. It'll be some kind of a solar event. It's going to be a huge ion blast, photon blast that's going to take out the electric grid, because let's understand everything is electromagnetic energy, including us. So we're just getting fed more enhanced stuff. That's the stuff that's going to mutate us into light beings. Our carbon-based bodies are turning into crystalline as we're going along. I wish I could speak to the details of how that happens physically. All I can tell you is that's what's taking place. Now, whether this is the form that we take when we get to the 4th dimension, well, you actually skip through the 4th dimension. You're not there very long. You sort out your karma and you move on to 5th dimensional thinking. That's where I think we are.
Wait, so you feel like we're going to get an upgrade from the sun itself with a solar blast of photonic light?
We're getting it now. There's going to be one final that just pushes Earth into the next consciousness dimension.
When will that happen, you think?
Damn soon is what I think.
Like in
I
10 years, 2 years, next year?
Within my lifetime, I came to reincarnate to be here during the shift. So what I can tell you is that I'm in my mid 60s and it's going to happen sometime within my lifetime. I, though, just get this feeling because of the accelerated things that have happened. I mean, listen to what all this crap that's happened in just the last year, Alan, and the discussions you've had about what happened with me in just since August. Look at the timeline and look at how all these things are accelerating and what kind of tools are being put into our hands. So wait to see how many other aware people kind of pop up. It's happening. It's exciting and scary all at the same time.
But it does help to go to a power spot, right? I mean, it does accelerate that.
It does for me, and I can tell you that these places have palpable energy. You feel the difference if you're open to the experience. I promise you, if you are open to higher vibrations and you seek out that, you'll find it. And especially at places like that. Sedona is another wonderful place for it. A different kind of energy. To me, Shasta is like this mature energy. And Sedona is a little more cosmopolitan. Energy there, nonetheless, and plenty of activity in the area. It's just a different vibration.
Right. So it's all accelerating now, and it's building towards a great moment in time. And that's within, would you say, the next 20 years or less, maybe?
I would personally, I feel it's going to be less, a lot less.
And this is when the ETs show up. This is when the light beings are visible.
They're already here.
Yeah.
That is true. My contact isn't like others who are reporting contact, channeling with extraterrestrials. I am certain that they exist. That has not been my experience. My experience was with six-dimensional light beings that no longer have to take form. But because of the gift they gave me, I can see things in the next realm and all the beings in it.
What gifts did they give you? I mean, how can people have the same things? I mean, it goes back.
There is just that awareness that opens up when your DNA is enabled, allows you to see things in like energetic signatures. And when you start to recognize them as that, then you see these other forms that in this dimension, we can't see them. Oh, they're all around us, but we're not in tune with that. So once you open yourself up and all of a sudden you get a connection to higher realms, now you see that stuff regularly. You hear people talk about it all the time, and most people just look at them and shake their heads and go, yeah, they're, I don't know who they're talking to. There is a lot of things going on around us that we are not in the same vibration to be able to experience. Once you are, you'll experience it.
I see. So on your website, what is it again? The 40, I put this in here. 40K
FT view, 40,000 foot view.
40,000 FT.
Those materials are there.
At kftview.com.
Yes.
Great. No, people are asking about your website again here. It's www.40. Okay, great. And okay, so
I'll stop the share here. There we go.
Okay, great. We want to see your face, right? So this process is continuing for you. It's continuing for all of us, and we're accelerating this frequency vibration as we're coming out of the whole pandemic thing too. I mean, was the pandemic thing part of that acceleration? Or was it?
If you were to ask me my opinion about it, I think that to a degree, we are all victims of our beliefs. If you believe that the pandemic had something to do with it, you're going to hold that belief. I wasn't infected by it, and have certainly been around people where I should have been violently sick, people that had the Delta variant. I just happened to be around them when that all erupted again.
Was it your vibration? It was your vibration.
I'm sure. Well, never mind. I was hopped up on Ethereum by this time that it happened. So
Well, I want to get
sure
some.
I had an undercurrent. I know you do. And look, when
That's
the
okay.
day comes on that the people that are aligned and ready for it, because
Right.
that's another thing,
Right.
we'll find a source for it.
Great. No, I'm happy you're presenting this material. So what's next for you and your journey here?
I'm back in Shasta for the next couple weeks. And now the book that everyone said, oh, you should write a book. Well, the book's almost done. I've been journaling my adventures all along. So really to put that all together into a book with pictures of every place that I've been and compass coordinates and all of it's going to be there for people that want to go touch my path and see where I was. It'll all be there. But there are a couple of productions that I've been asked to participate in. One for Discovery Plus, a production team that's putting something together on people that have had extraordinary phenomenon in places like Shasta. Shasta is one of these episodes they're developing. And then there's a whole nother production coming online that I'm not at liberty to talk about yet, but somebody wants to take my experiences and put them into some kind of format that can be blown up and more people can experience it. In the meantime, I am going to start to move around the country a little bit and find some places where like-minded people can all get together and start. We want to see people face to face and talk to them that way. Zoom is it's okay for now, but it's not the same as being in a room with somebody who said they had these experiences.
Right. And you feel that vibration. Right. But can you also tell us what's happening on Telos? You mentioned something before about Telos. And
Telos is kind of on hold. And
are they coming forward?
I can't.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, yeah. They have. Yeah, I can't talk about it right now.
That's okay.
It's in the middle of a transition.
That's
and
okay.
It's all in concert with the ship and what their beliefs are too. So they're getting ready for contact with those of us on the surface. They continue to make those preparations.
It's been a long time coming. I mean, we've been waiting for this for 10,000 years, probably.
Eons. We've been stuck in, the third dimension and trying to dig ourselves out. Oh, wasn't it wonderful to fall back here and experience physicality? We never knew how much trouble it was going to take climbing out. Yes.
Well, good. So, I mean, you're on a great adventure. You're like you're traveling the country, activating people to this vibrational light. And that's your job.
Thank you for saying that. I hadn't really put it together like that, but that's a damn accurate way of putting it.
Right, because the light is different now than it was before. It's at a higher frequency. So what can you leave us with? I mean, what do you want to impart to people as something to start their activation?
Read the Ascension materials or be happy with what you understand about Ascension. That's where you're going to need to begin. In order for Ascension to execute for you when the time comes, you've got to be at the same vibration level as Earth is. Your vibration matches, you move on to new Earth with her. If your vibration doesn't match, well, you're not going to the next level because your vibration doesn't match.
So this is an Earth Ascending. There was a book by Jose Aguirre called Earth Ascending, and this is Earth Ascending. And
this is exactly what that is.
And we are part of the Earth. These Earth bodies are ascending with the Earth if we choose to ascend with the Earth.
Any sentient being on the planet is subject to what's going on in the planet. And we're just another sentient being scurrying along on the planet. So when our vibration matches Earth's, that's when we're really in concert with her. Well, she's about to lift. And those of us that want to stay here and appreciate what she's about to become, our vibration has to match. So get yourself in alignment and you'll just lift yourself.
Well, that's an interesting way of putting it. So the Earth itself is sort of graduating to a new vibration. And we, as residents of the earth, either go with the new vibration or we don't.
Correct.
And then to go with that, we really have to work on ourselves in all the heavy places that are still stuck in the
Right.
past, in the past,
Yes.
in the old self, in the density.
You hit the nail on the head. When
Yeah.
I say people need to find alignment, that's where clear your chakras in there. Once you get familiar with them, you understand what part of you just isn't right. And once you do, and your alignment is solid, now your connection, well, first your anchor to Gaia's grid is solid, and your connection to light is unimpeded. Now you've just become this light channel, which is what you were supposed to be in the first place, light worker.
Exactly.
You're supposed to be planting additional light here. You don't do that by going to places like Mount Chaska and asking for light. No. You're here to bring it. Leave it behind. Leave your aura behind.
Right. No, I think you're helping people realize the purpose of incarnation, bringing in the light essence, and then bringing all, I mean, where we're supposed to be in the first place is something I say, where we weren't here to be enslaved and work for energy, means we were here to live in joy. We were here to be the ascended beings.
That's right.
That was the purpose.
Well, the real challenge is to begin to see what people's opinion about reincarnation is first. Because if they can't get past that, then any kind of discussion about multidimensionality is not worth anyone's time.
Well, what was the purpose?
If you do believe in incarnation, well, then it just only stands to reason you've had past lives. Aren't you curious about them?
Well, I am, but what is the purpose of incarnation, though? What would you say?
You are here as a spark of source to help the universe evolve. And you have a very specific journey, not like anyone else's. The lessons that you set out there to learn, both good and bad, are your contributions in the end to the collective. And when you're done learning those lessons that you've agreed to with your creator, you either decide to write a new contract. There are more things I want to learn in this realm, or I'm done in this realm. It's time for me to ascend to the next one. Well, here's where humanity is today. Our third dimension lessons are complete. This experiment's over with because Earth is on her way to the next place. We just have to now prepare and make people aware of what that preparation looks like, what you need to do.
So what does this next place look like? How is life in this next realm that as you see it?
It's fairy tale-ish. Really, you think of crystal cities, just let your imagination go wild because you're at that level still in physicality, but you have the ability to manifest whatever you wish. And then when you learn how things like the pyramid was built, you won't go, yeah, slaves, they didn't really do that. No, there was technology that was available way back then that came from sources somewhere else when Earth was still young and we were trying to decide, what was going to be done with her. She turned into this 3D experiment. And it wasn't that we didn't have higher technology and knowledge of that before, but we chose to leave that behind to have physical experiences. Yes.
So we chose to go into density.
Yes.
Density.
Yeah.
And now we're coming out. Well, go ahead. What were you saying?
We're waking back up. That look, we didn't fall here to stay here. No, we weren't slaves. We're not. We weren't ground into this. Every time we make an incarnation, our memory banks are wiped out, and we've got to find a way to remember the things that we know are locked away all on our own with rules set up by somebody else who didn't know that there were any rules and kind of made them up as they went along. So the things that we've always been conditioned with were by, people who that was what they were conditioned with before. They didn't know any better. So they did the best they could. Once we can kind of see beyond this whole duality and there can't be anything but good or bad, black or white, on or out. No. We have those things, which just makes us aware of the beauty of everything, but we see above it now and beyond it. So we recognize those things. And here is where we're going to contribute something to make what we found better, help the universe evolve to the next level. That's our job.
This is really the teachings of Ascension. You're right. You're right. Yeah. Thank you, Lowell, for, putting yourself on the line in a way. And
well, that's it. We'll see how this is received, because that was a whole nother mindset that needed to take place. You really want to say this out loud to people, Lowell? Yeah, clearly I did.
Well, why not? People need to hear this. I mean, this is.
Well, can you imagine if I'd have been still working for, the casino company I worked for? I would probably not be employed there tomorrow after I delivered this kind of message. But everything lined up in a way that when the time came for this to take place, there weren't going to be any obstacles anymore.
So there's no obstacles anymore for you. Are exploring the world with this process.
Mm-hmm. And look what I've seen.
Yeah. And you is it possible to take people back to Telos? Are you?
Definitely.
Because that's something I'm definitely interested in.
That's next. I had hoped to do that during the conference. I had every intention, but the forest had closed due to the fires, so nobody was going. But no, part of while I'm there is there's 3 groups that want me to just take them back to the spot I was at.
Yeah.
So, we'll do that for sure. But there's other energy things I want to point out. Absolutely. Shasta has magic in lots of places, and they're not all on the main drag. So once you get into those little vortexes, you don't want to leave. It just feels so good and comfortable, like you belong there. And once you kind of get in touch with that vibration, then your mind will wander and you'll see all the ethereal beings. Oh, they show up. They're there. We're just not in vibration to see them properly.
Well, they're there in Shasta because it's an energy vortex that allows this dimensional doorway to take place, right?
It's definitely enhanced.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's great. It's great that you're one of the few people who've come out in recent times talking about this journey. You know that. I mean, there was the guy who met Saint Germain in the 30s there.
Guy Ballard, yes. That's
Guy Ballard,
legend.
The I Am series, right? The I Am books. But no one recently, I think you're the first person I've met recently who have talked about that journey to Telos and the activation. Well, lots of you are talking about the activation of the light body, but in connection to Telos is really the key, I think, to another realm.
It resonates with a lot of people. It's the closest thing they'll have to understanding the next dimensional experience. Because if they see my visit to Telos as that, now they understood what happened. Oh, yes, I went to Telos physically. 4th, 5th dimension. These are physical planes. I went to a different dimension to experience it. And once others can see the same thing, believe me, they're there with open arms waiting to, come on, we're going to show you what's really here. We're not that far away.
So you think the whole world has a chance to actually experience these? Why not?
Oh,
right?
Yes.
This is our destiny.
Anyone who's awake. And there's no limits to lines of geography. It doesn't work that way. These thought patterns and what we're experiencing, it's electromagnetic energy. And we're just capacitors taking in and expending energy constantly. Everything's an energy exchange. That's why I am fond of Antara crystals, because they're not like other man-made crystals. And that's not to take anything away from amethyst and citrine. And I love them all, have them all. This carries a different kind of consciousness, though. And it is like having a best friend connected to all of its brothers and sisters all over the planet, because these things have been seeded now for about 25 years.
How do we get the Antara crystals? How do we find
You
those?
can find Antara crystals here. The original source is Mickey Magic. He's working on his website, but you can still reach out to mickeymagic.com, and Mickey still has original Andaras, beautiful ones. He has been around this stuff more than anybody other than Lady Nellie. He's
Who's
helped.
Lady Nellie?
She's the Choctaw woman whose land these were originally found on. Yeah, that was in 1967. So this stuff's been here for a long time and only discovered not that long ago. 67 sounds like a long time for us, but in the scheme of how crystals are formed and what that all entails, those things have been there waiting for a while. And then when you discovered the Andaras, and she was a healer who had incredible results healing people that had AIDS and people that had cancer. Well, when they finally found out what was contributing to her healing, not that she wasn't a natural healer and good at it, she was making a brew of tea out of this medicine plant called bear clover. She had learned it from medicine people, and later she had noticed that there was this white powder on the plant. When you pulled it out, it was stuck to the roots. And when you finally figured out what it was, or somebody had figured out what it was because of the healing qualities it had, it turned out this is raw ethereum. And so then people began to take it and mill it, turn it into a powder, and people were ingesting it. There was somebody, David Morton, I think that's his name, had through contacts acquired a sample of it, taken it to a laboratory because he was a scientist by nature, and tried to break down everything that was in it, and came up with a compound called ormus. Ormus has similar qualities.
David Hudson. That was David Hudson.
Yes.
In the
similar
80s.
qualities.
Yes.
There is Ethereum in Ormus, but Ormus is not raw Ethereum. It's a different thing. But he's on to something because it's still.
Do you have to get your phone?
No.
Okay.
I'm in my hotel room, so I don't know who's calling. Anyway, back to the matter at hand. It does expand people's awareness, and they were getting results with even this part of it. But again, it wasn't whatever I have had access to. And Mickey has been the one who has had not just access to helping Nellie distribute all of these, the tons of them that were pulled out of the property and then distributed. There's a finite amount of it. And then what Ethereum he had for 10 or 15 years was all he had. In the past, he had been giving it to some of his friends. Now, this was before anybody had done any research to find out what the hell this stuff really is. And maybe it was used a little recklessly. Yeah, it's creation material. It's prima mater. It needs to be respected, and you need to understand what impact it's supposed to have and what that requires. But we know now.
We know now what?
Pages of history documents. We now know what this was. But it wasn't found easy.
But these are tools that are now making themselves available to us because the time is right to help with this vibrational increase of
I believe that 100%, Alan.
I think so too. I think so. And you're out there as a sort of assistant, healer.
Here's
like
proof.
Facilitator.
Yes.
Here's proof what?
Here's proof that there's been some kind of light beam contact with pictures. Now, think about it, all of these things had to line up, and permission had to be given by some authority for that event to take place and for it to be photographed and for me to be able to share it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I don't know who cleared all those obstacles, but when they were taken and put in my possession, they were mine to do with. They were kind of described as, this is part of your portfolio. And when I heard that, I went, what do you mean a portfolio? Well, no. The day is going to come when you're going to talk about having this contact with these light beings. Here are the pictures of what happened that day.
Yeah.
No questions anymore.
No, that's great. That's great. So we're ready. We're now ready, and it's coming.
Yeah.
The actions is coming. And so what people can do is just look at your website again, and I guess just tap into, it's dropping into themselves and feeling their own connection to the earth and to themselves, their center, their being.
Yeah.
And it's just happening. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what needs to take place inside of everybody. But if you're just becoming aware and awakening, who the hell do I talk to about this stuff? So that's, if somebody reaches out to me on my website, believe me, you've just identified yourself as part of the tribe. Because if you have a curiosity about what we've got, the tribe always shows up. There'll be others that you're going to commune with that understand what you're going through. And if all you were looking for was just a touchstone, because this is the experience I had, and I can't talk to you about my family, here's a resource where you're free to express yourself, because we've all seen incredible things. We don't discount them anymore. We want people to feel free to explore the things that they think they're dreaming, because in most cases, dreams are experiences you're having in other dimensions. Wake
Definitely.
up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you're going to Shasta. Can we do a show when you get back, or maybe from Shasta itself, like a report?
Yeah, I'm going to be there through next Friday. It might be a good time to kind of follow up once this goes a little more mainstream for a week.
Okay. Okay.
Then let's see what kind of reaction we get. But we should do it live again. And the connectivity up there is pretty good.
Yeah, let's do it from Shasta. I have actually some friends up there. Maybe you should look at. They actually make Ormus. So I'm going to put you in touch with them. Okay.
Good.
My friends up there. And okay, Lowell, thank you for your time and your effort and your enthusiasm. And I know you're doing this to really get the word out there. This is
That's
about
right.
planetary transformation.
It's exciting.
Well, it's the only game in town, really, isn't it?
Like I said before, I see things from a little different perspective. And again, I can't speak to people that have had contact or had been abductees. I'm certain that those things took place. That's just not been my experience. My experience when I came to contact is different than here's an ET being, here's his description. No. I'm talking about things you experience in different realms that you're about to be able to step into. And because you're in the next dimension and have your abilities to co-create and manifest immediately, the next world you get to create is zero weight state. What you decide you want to intend for yourself manifests its stuff right away. So imagine what we're all going to do together.
Yeah.
It's cool.
No, zero weight state might be why people are thinking about going into space, but they don't need to do that to know that we just have to let go of all the heaviness to be in zero weight state.
Well, I actually meant weight in terms of time and not weight in terms of mass. Right. But yeah.
Right. No, so let's do a show from Shasta, okay? And
okay,
you could tune into the end and you could sort of like channel in like what you're getting being on Shasta.
I'd love that.
Great. Lowell Johnson, 40, what is it? Website 40K?
40kftview.com.
40fktview.com, where you can get more of the tools that Lowell is talking about here. And you're going to have your lecture schedule up there and where you're going to be traveling to. And this is your mission to awaken. people around to
I'm fun showing what's happened to me to others. I'm still blown away by it every day. Now it's time for others to wake up to. Just smell the coffee. It's pretty good.
Thanks, Lowell. Alan Steinfeld,
Okay, Alan.
Realities. And thank you for watching. Thank you.